Hey everyone, this is just being me coming to you with another video. How y'all doing today? So, of course, as you see here on the thumbnail, we'll be recapping this week of Love and Marriage DC. And must I say, y'all, it keeps getting better and better every week. When I tell you I'm loving this show, I am loving this show. So I ain't gonna hold you. We're gonna get right into it. Now, before we do that, a little housekeeping. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on your notification bell so whenever a video comes up, you'll be the first one notified. Again, we cover hot topics, celebrity news, gossip, things of that nature. And sometimes it can get a little real where we'll discuss other little topics that are trending, such as self-awareness, things to that nature. So we're going to get and hop right into it. Now, starting off, they kind of go into where we see Joy and Clifton. Now, as we see, Joy and Clifton have purchased them a new home by the water. When I tell you this house is everything, y'all, it is everything. It is so nice. It looked peaceful. And Joy said that she wanted the water, the pool, nature. That's what she was kind of looking for when she was looking for a house. And she feels that she got everything that, pretty much she was wanting out of a house. I must say they did a really good job. We see where her and Clifton go on into the house and they go into looking around, perhaps, considering doing a little painting, seeing what upkeep they can do inside the home. Now, of course, they move on and kind of start discussing, about the wedding. They kind of hint around about the wedding again, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna get back into talking about that. And she was like, yeah, and we're gonna also go ahead and discuss, he said, and we'll discuss baby. She was like, okay, she want to make sure that she's stable and grounded before they move on to discussing babies and things to that nature. And I must say, I agree, because of course you don't want to rush things. You want to make sure that you gotten everything that you want to do out the way, because as we know, another child is another responsibility. So sometimes that can take away if you're still in pursuit of any businesses, things to that nature. But of course, Clifton this is where he at in life. He ready to be married. He's ready to, have another child. And of course, we know Joy doesn't have any children. So, he's ready to share that with her. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know. Y'all leave in a comment what y'all think. But it kind of seemed as though, I'm not going to say off, but it kind of seemed as though with a lot of different things, they're not on the same page. As, we saw last week, Joy isn't really into having a wedding. She said that she's, not really wanting that Cinderella wedding. She feels as though they've already shared so much with everybody. They got engaged on TV, they came together on TV, and she feels as though, she just wants, to have something just for her and him, whereas he is wanting that fairy tale wedding. He wants to be able to share her with the world. He said he wants the world to see what real black love look like. And I appreciate that. And as we see here, he's wanting to discuss babies, and she is so I think it's some things that they definitely need to discuss before they go ahead and walk down the aisle, because you don't want this to be something that'll pose a problem later on. But anyways, move on. We see where Joy goes outside to call Arena, and she wanted, to share Arena. Yeah, we're back at home. She kind of, shows Arena, the property. And, she tells Arena, yeah, we got a room, just for you. We got a room for you here, whenever you want to come stay, you know, we got a room here for you. And so then we see Ashley joining Quick down in the kitchen where he is preparing breakfast. Quick asks, how did you sleep? And Ashley kind of goes over and says that she haven't really been sleeping well. They go into talking, a little bit about the party. She says she wasn't surprised. She says she's kind of hard. She's a hard person to really surprise. I guess she do a little snooping around. She figures things out really, really quickly. So she said she wasn't really too surprised, but she said she really enjoyed it and she really appreciated it. And then Quick goes into asking her, hey, are you still mad about, me not telling you about, the situation with Alicia? And, she tells him that, you know, she was, a little upset because she felt as though it shouldn't have mattered what was going on. She wanted to know. That's her best friend. And she said when it came to that and her having a party and things of that nature, the party would have came secondary. And I think this was his main reason for doing that, because he knew that Ashley would put everything on hold because it was Alicia. And I don't think he was really being insensitive about it. I truly feel that he felt as though everything was okay with Alicia and that he just really wanted his wife to enjoy her night. So I kind of, I felt him on that, but at the same time, I felt, well, Ashley feels as though this is someone that's more than a friend. It's like a sister to her. And she really, this is something, that really touched her. And, something would have happened, she would have felt really, really bad about not being there. So you can understand that. They also go into talking about, the situation with what Jamie had said at the party. Now, we all know, and we'll discuss a little bit more a little later here in the video about some of the things that Jamie said, but she said that it was real triggering for her, some of the things that he said, because she feels as though what Jamie was saying is that Lil Jamie, which we'll call him LJ, was only doing that for attention. And she said that a lot of times that's not the case. And even if that is the case, that's still nothing that you could take as it's nothing, because you never know. Because a lot of times that is actually people crying out for help. And you as a parent should be able to see that. And she felt that that was really, really triggering for her. She then goes in talking about um, the insomnia that she's been experiencing. She said that, she's only getting maybe 45 minutes to an hour's worth of sleep. She says she feels as though it's, stuff constantly going on. And she said right now should be the time of her life when she should be enjoying it, because her book was just released and she can't even be excited about her book. And speaking of book, look what I got, y'all. Let me get on camera really, really quick. Speaking of book, can y'all see it? Do that shit. When I tell y'all, I just got it in Saturday. I kind of started a little bit on Saturday night. But then I was kind of tired, so I was like, nah, this book need my undivided attention. So I kind of read over it a little bit. I've been working, so I'm working myself on. But what I have read, which was in the introduction, the disclaimer, and I have gotten to the 20 things she wanted you to write down. 20 things. Let me get to it real quick. She said that she wanted you to write 20 things about yourself that makes you a baddie. Now I have started. Can y'all see that? I don't know if y'all can actually see that, but I have started writing down my 20 things. But y'all, it was like something that really kind of caught you off guard, because you like, okay, now I know certain little things or whatever, but it was something that really, really put your mind at work to make you think, what are the best qualities about yourself that you can actually look in the mirror and be like, yeah, this might be this way, but hey, look, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. So it was something that really touched me. I felt like it was, she doing it, and I cannot wait to get deep into the book. And I let you know I will be reviewing the book. Shout out to her, because I did post on Instagram where I had purchased her book, and she loved the comments. So y'all know that was everything to me, because I can say Ashley is one of my favorites. She is one of my favorites. I love her. I know some people don't vibe with her because of her upforwardness and how she come across, but to me, just from even seeing her on the last episode and just watching her and looking at her on Instagram, you get to know the other side of her, and you get understanding as to maybe why she, come across the way she do. So it's kind of relatable. And to me, I respect that. I respect the realness and the relativity versus the fakeness. You see what I'm saying? Like some people on reality TV, they come across like they so perfect and everything is a-okay. That you smell nothing but fake. And then when something come out in the media, everybody like, wow, but when you tell your story before somebody else tell your story, I mean, how real can you be? You see what I'm saying? So I really appreciate that. But moving forward, we go on to see where Arena and Joy meet up with Quick and Ashley at Funland. Now, Funland, it looked really, really fun. Looked like they were really, really enjoying themselves, having a good time. It's like a little go karts. Looked like they were playing go karts. We see that Quick and Jamie are very, very competitive. When it all came out in the wash, Quick wound up winning, but it looked like they were really, really having a good time. So then they go on and they meet up at the table to kind of, discuss what was the latest or what's been going on. They kind of go into talking about the party. And then Quick automatically jumped right in. See why they call him Quick? Because he was quick to get right into the meat of why they were there. And Quick expressed and told Jamie that him and Alicia were kind of bothered about, some of the things that had been said at the party in reference to LJ. And it was very triggering to Alicia the most because she had experienced a lot of, the things that little Jamie is experiencing. So Jamie kind of makes a comment in his confessional and was like, he was very surprised that Quick was the one that kind of presented it because normally he know that it's the women. He said so he didn't really know how to take that, and I think he was a little offended because of that because both of them clearly stated they didn't know they were coming there for that. They, so they, I guess, I don't know, maybe felt a little ambush. I don't know, but sometimes it hurt to hear the truth. But neither here nor there. Won't hold you on that. But we um we see where you know they kind of go into telling him that you know pretty much you said your son was a bum. And Jamie said, well, he couldn't remember because of course we know he was intoxicated. Arena said that she don't recall him saying that because she said in her confessional, that's my son. Surely I would have known if he said that. Now for me, eh, I know that you want to defend your husband. You don't want to feel as though he's being attacked, but these are your friends. To me, I feel like they genuinely coming to the both of you out of basically out of love. They are there, they're caring, they care enough to sit down and have this conversation with you versus speaking about this behind your back. Now, to me, I do feel like some of the things that Quick said was kind of worded the wrong way because he made the comment, the way you talk to your son, I would have never talked to my son like that. Almost as if your father, you know, you're a better father than what Jamie is. And you could tell that Jamie was kind of getting a little aggravated about it. And I'm so surprised that he didn't say anything. But I appreciate the fact that he didn't. He kind of received it. But he did let Quick know, hey, we're talking about a 26-year-old versus your son being 14. It is a big difference. And it is very much so. It is a different way you're going to parent a 26-year-old versus what you're going to do and react with your 14-year-old. And parents, I always say, as me being a parent of 4 girls, you don't never say what you're not going to do. Don't never say what, you ain't going to put up with because we can raise them accordingly. And the only thing I can say is we pray to God that they listen and they learn and they move by the guidance that you have given them and by the grace of God. But when they get out there in that real world, you know, sometimes children can take another road. But moving forward, they kind of go over it and Alicia shared that, the reason why it triggered her and the reason why it's bothering her so much is because she's been where little Jamie is at. And she has also went as far as trying to unalive herself on two separate occasions. And matter of fact, the last time she was hospitalized for it. So she was saying that never take what he's saying for granted because you never know. And she was like, parents don't realize the things that they say to their children stick with them. And I honestly, that is so true on so many levels. And even me as being, like I said, a parent of four children. I had my children at a young age, and I sit your ass down and just hush, just the way we come across. But then now here later on in life, I'm looking at it and be like, okay, here it is, my child screaming and hollering now. Okay, well, that's what she saw. So you got to lead by example. You have to be that example if this is what you're wanting your reaction to be. And to me, just a little off topic a little bit, but Jamie and Arena kind of come across as the traditional family. I'm not gonna say traditional. I don't hope I'm wording that right, but they come across as everything all right. I'm gonna listen to what my husband say. This is all right. Maybe it may have been some type of abuse, allegedly. I don't know, physical, verbally, however it may go, and we just make it up to the kids by material things. We gonna cover this up with material items, and it'll be all good. And as long as I'm clothing you, bathing you, and XYZ, that's all that should matter. When no, that's not all that should matter. The way we talk to our kids, so the love and attention we show our kids, being there, all of that plays a part into being a parent. And buying all these material things cannot replace the love and attention that children need. Even as being adult children, they sometimes need that love and attention from their parents, because you can give them the world. As you can see, it's so many celebrity children, excuse me, that is around that has tried to unalive themselves. We see them that could be on drugs, things to that nature, and you figure, why would they be doing that? And they rich. Money don't make you. Money does not fix anything. So I just really hope that they all get the counseling that they need so they can move forth and be a healthy family. So then we move on to the day of Sherelle's fitness day. Now Sherelle is having a fitness day. We learned that pretty much Sherelle had lost over 100 pounds. So after losing 100 pounds, she was really motivated in what she did. So she went to get certified as a trainer. So once she did that, she decided that, she wanted to spread that and, be a trainer and teach other women, and show other women how they can be, positive about the skin that they're in. And then we go on and we see Ashley pulling up. Now, Ashley is pulling up and she basically say that it was only one spot left and it was in the middle of what they had going on. So I had to bump my horn to let them know, move out my way, move out my way. So of course they all in there, they're working out and everything, and they're kind of discussing things. Now let me kind of back up a little bit because I want to show here where we see none other than Winter arriving. Now we see Winter arriving, and when Winter gets there, basically the mood kind of changed. Um, the mood kind of changed a little bit, and so they're all working out. Of course, Winter come in doing what Winter does, and she kind of lets them know that basically, she say, well, I ain't know it was a wig day. And I think people thought and took it as where she was saying that towards Ashley because Ashley had a sewing in. But as you can see, it looks as though they were like in costumes and things like that. So I'm thinking maybe she was saying on the lines of, them having costumes on or what have you. I'm hoping. Let's just keep it, So okay, so they all standing around talking. We see where Alicia's there speaking with them. They're kind of asking Alicia, how are you since the accident? She was saying basically she hurt her knee, her leg, her neck, and her back. And she told her car, but other than that, she all right. Making light of it. We also see where Sherelle has hurt her arm as well. But, she was like, I just didn't want to make no big deal out of it. So I had already said, I'll just go home and Black will just pop it back in place. And none other than Arena to say, speaking of Black, I spoke with Joy the other day, and y'all, I definitely apologize. I skipped that whole scene. And so before we go into what she came out and told Sherelle about, let me go back a little bit and I apologize for that. But we do see where Joy and Arena meet up. They met up to do what they consider to be lamping. And they were talking, it was about home decor, whatever. They both was dressed really, really nice for the occasion, a little overdressed, but basically Arena was telling Joy about Sherelle's upcoming fitness day that we just saw in out of order. But, and she was like, I was gonna invite you there. And she was like, no, I wouldn't think that she would want me to come there. Somebody that cannot stand her husband, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't want to be around me. And Arena was like, well, what is really going on? What is really going on, with y'all? Because Sherelle said that y'all blocked her on social media. And Joy was like, man, I blocked them over 10 years ago and they just not noticing that. I mean, who cares? And she was like, so is this having something to do with the band or however? And Joy goes in to tell her, no, Arena told her that Black had said pretty much that Joy was mad because the fact that he was dating her best friend. And Joy was like, first of all, he was dating my best friend when he started seeing Chanel. But at the same time, that's not my only issue. My other issue with him is he's shady. He's shady. He also, had everyone thinking that I was the reason the band broke up. He was saying something about me and the drummer got into it, and that was the reason why, the band was not together, and that is not true. She was like, basically, he tried to ruin my career. And she was like, and I have nothing for him, and I don't want nothing to do with nobody associated with him. So right there, she made it clear. I don't want to have nothing to do with them. And pretty much she was kind of like, I'm over this and, pretty much move on. I don't want to talk about it. So then, of course, we go back to where we were. And Arena then moves on to say, speaking of Black, I met up with Joy and pretty much Joy, I asked her about, what was going on between, you and Black and her. And Joy pretty much said she don't have a problem. So Raina is kind of fixing it up because for some reason it feels as though she's trying to push a relationship up. And so she, she said, she did kind of say that your husband was a little shady. And she was like, my husband is not shady. My husband is not shady. And um I don't know what she mean by that. And, pretty much she was like, you know, she said that my husband has tried to reach out to her on several occasions, and she haven't responded. And Sherelle said she don't know, really why is Arena even bringing this up to her. She don't know what is the deal with that. And but because now she has a problem with Joy. Say she didn't have a problem with Joy, but now she do. And sometimes with trying to push these things can make things a little worse. So then we go on and we see where Winter walks up and she was telling everyone, well, I'm gonna go bye, bye, and I don't know you. Now, to me, it seemed like it was a little edited and something was cut out because she said, and I don't even know who you are. And Alicia says then, and it's clear, that you don't know me. So it seemed like they may have cut out something to make it seem as though, Winter was being the aggressor. I'm not really sure. But, they kind of go back with the banter a little bit. And then we see where Sherelle and, Sherelle walks Winter out. They're talking. Sherelle tells Winter, okay, give me a second. I'm going to go and I'm going to get Ashley to see if she'll come and talk to you because I can tend to get through to her when she's not around everyone. And so she was like, she opened to talk to Ashley. So then we go on to see where, Ashley and Winter go into talking and discussing with one another. What happens? Ashley explained that Winter has talked about her and her husband on several occasions. She has made comments about them not being Christians. That was like, what? It's a little reaching, but whatever. So she made, said that Winter has talked about her several times. Of course, at this time, Winter walks up and Ashley said, I don't like you. Ashley also went on to say, you know, you have went on this whole bash Ashley campaign, and now you expecting me to, show you grace and you want to be friends. And then they kind of showed where they had clips of things that Winter had said. Of course, it says Winter said, you do prove the mean girl narrative is true. And then, of course, it was like a back and forth. Winter then goes on to say, is your heart this ugly? Also, she goes on to say, you do prove that the mean girl narrative is true. Again, and then Ashley goes on to say, if anyone has ugly heart, it's you and your half head. Ashley then moves on to say, bad choices in men, bad choices in haircut. And you remember we did see where, she had the little shaved on the side and the braids or whatever she had last season. But anyways, so they go back and forth on who said what, who said when, however it go. And Ashley said something about, I don't like your face. And she was like, I don't like yours either. I mean, and it was just like some high school stuff going back and forth about it. At the end of the day, in a nutshell, these people are not gonna be friends. Winter even went in to say, what did she say? It was so funny to me. She said, not only do we have a linebacker, but now we have the offensive line. And she was like, I don't need an audience. Ashley goes into telling her, you love an audience. What you mean you don't want an audience? You love an audience. So, they kind of went back and forth with that. So at the end of the day, like I said, I just don't see these girls ever being friends. And, Arena kind of makes the comment about, just she don't understand why, Sherelle is pushing this up. But to me, didn't you push up the situation? Ain't you trying to push up the situation with Joe and Sherelle? Like, so it's like both of you are trying to do the same thing and it ain't working. And pretty much Sherelle makes the comment and say that Winter is going to be invited to a lot of her occasions, and basically y'all gonna have to get with it. She don't want to be in the middle of this, and y'all gonna have to get it together. So then we move on to see where Lil Jamie is visiting Brittany. She invited him over, where he said that they'll be making, I can't remember what he called it, but basically they'll be having some hors d'oeuvres, and they go on, they sit down and talk. Brittany kind of let it slip out that she does have a man. And he was like, well, I ain't never met him. And she was like, y'all all get to meet him in due time. Basically, at the end of the day, Brittany is trying to get the home front together before she introduce anybody, because she don't want that to turn out how Jason's party turned out. So the best thing for her to do is get y'all right, and then we can move into meeting the family and things of that nature. But moving on, we then later see where Jamie, Arena, and Arena's mother arrive at Brittany's house. And we see where, they'll come in. Little Jamie is saying, somebody's knocking at the door. She said, oh, I know I owe a couple of bill collectors, but, so she opens the door. Little Jamie immediately says he heard his mother's laugh. Excuse me, y'all. she have a distinguished laugh, and he heard it, and he's saying one thing for sure: if she's here, my father is right behind her. And then he was like, oh Lord. And then my grandma here, he was like, oh Jesus, it's really finna go down. So then they enter, they exchange hugs, and you know, look like we're gonna really get into some things. But that's where it all ended, pretty much there. Um, I really, really hope that this conversation go well. We kind of seen little snippets of what's gonna happen on next week. Now, from what I'm seeing, they continue on, of course, with the dinner. Again, I hope that they make some progression, agree to go to counseling, get everything together, at least get it calm. You see what I'm saying? We see where they also going to be attending the event with Quick. Is having a celebration for his street naming, so we'll be seeing that. They also will show where Joy and Sherelle meet up, and they kind of exchange words, and then we see where Raina and Chanel actually pass words. So it's gonna be really, really interesting. Overall, y'all, I will rate this episode again a 9. I mean, it's really, really good. I guess it's so refreshing to actually see and review a show that actually, it's a little mess. But at the end of the day, is some real relatable topics going on, such as mental health, things of that nature. Also, as far as sometimes we kind of coexist with people that really we not feeling and vibing with, and things happen. So this is actually a lot more relatable than going with them narratives of who's cheating, who been cheating, who this and who that. I mean, sometimes it's just okay to just see a show that you really enjoy, and this is one show that I'm really enjoying. I'm really enjoying um reviewing this. Now, I would love to hear from y'all, my replay crew. Please like, share, and subscribe. Turn on notification bell as I asked in the beginning. I'm trying to get in the algorithm, so liking the video really, really helped not only me but other content creators to be able to get and put out videos and push out videos through. Don't forget to go and let me get back on screen real quick, y'all, so y'all will be able to see me, because I don't know if you can see me down there in the little box down there. But go ahead, and if you could just go ahead, and if you go purchase, now I purchased mine on Amazon. It only took like a day for me to get it. Really, really, really am excited about getting into this book, reviewing it. If anybody else is reading this book, or have plans on reading this book, comment down below. Maybe we can do a special live where we can kind of have like what we call a little book club going on or what have you. If you're interested in it, you can email me as well. Please, if you have any hot topics or anything you want to discuss or share the platform, please don't hesitate to email me. All of my information will be down in the description box. And as always, y'all stay blessed. Y'all stay lit. And until next time, bye-bye.